Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. Before the story begins, make sure you've subscribed. It's completely free, and it ensures you'll never miss a jaw-dropping twist or thrilling adventure. Your support means everything to us. It fuels our passion and helps this storytelling community grow stronger every single day. Wishing you a day full of peace, joy, and inspiration. Disclaimer: this is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or real events is purely coincidental. This story is created solely for entertainment and does not promote or glorify violence in any form. Now sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. Scrap City had seen thousands of species come and go, scavenging its ruins in search of truth, power, or fortune. But when the first humans stepped into its halls, something ancient stirred. Not rage, not defense, but recognition. Everyone knew that the engineers had been here long before any other, maintaining and caring for this decrepit husk of a ship, since even before the Kroll took to the stars. But given that it yet remained a rusted shell, serving now as the carapace within which thrives the wardenhold of Valerix Prime, everyone also knew that they were yet not its creators. Creators who surely once dominated the galaxy, given the sheer size of this behemoth, but have never, ever been seen. Only their ruins, only their legacy remained. No one knows their name, where they came from, or even what they looked like. Their alien tongue has been impossible to decipher, bearing no resemblance to any known linguistic matrix patterns. But their architecture, the monuments to their once glory, those are recognizable by anyone. Every habitable planet, and several uninhabitable, has at least one. Most have a few. Some are so covered by the ruins of the creators that there is no telling what kind of world once lay underneath the miles of metal, glass, and plastic. There is even one known ruin of a gargantuan structure the size of an entire star, but empty, without its presumably stellar heart, drifting in the space between stars, found only by sheer accident during a warp jump gone wrong. Or, for the ones who found it, extremely right. All habitable worlds, save one. Statistically, it was inevitable. Even the creators, at the height of their power, surely had a fall. Surely had some limit. Perhaps some theorized they were so old that the humans' homeworld had quite literally formed only after their disappearance. Though, that one is contentious, as surely several other planets proven older would lack for ruins if that were the case. Whatever the theory, there can be no denying that humanity was the only species in the galaxy with no ties to this once great empire whatsoever. In fact, many considered their rise to the stars quite an impressive feat. After all, they had no help from the creators' ruins, as every other race did. Perhaps this explains their tardiness in joining the galactic stage. As a species, the galaxy had been aware of them for centuries, with none other than the Kroll themselves discovering humanity at the height of their renaissance. Scientists all over, have visited their world in secret to study the mysteries of these people, untainted by the ghosts of the past. A case study, they called it, in natural evolution. But now, all that has changed. Humanity has finally mastered the warp drive, that self-containing space-warping engine of entropy, which enables ships to travel faster than the speed of light. A source of great debate for humanity was the implications of such a technology. Debates that the rest of the galaxy found amusing to no end. Time travel. Preposterous. Humans had such silly ideas. Their joining of the Galactic Union was not special. No particular fanfare to speak of. Yes, their world was considered moderately dangerous by most standards. But the humans themselves had unfortunately inherited no particularly dangerous quirks from their environment, besides their above-average endurance. If anything, many thought it about damn time the hairless monkeys got around to leaving their boring rock and the white-yellow star it orbited. Understandably, perhaps, the humans had a unique fascination with the ruins of the creators. It makes sense. Every other species grew up around them. Their monuments, their ancient cities, husks of warships. None of the tech was functional anymore, but even the mere outline of their construction was enough to jumpstart the development of most species by millennia. Of course, even these great monuments prove eventually boring for those who literally evolved with them as permanent, but totally lifeless edifices. With one singular exception, the Wardenhold of Trucktakton Prime, home to the only known, technically functional creator ruin. Technically, the only thing about the giant crashed warship that still works is its life support system and protective shields which insulate it, and anyone, or anything inside, from the world's searing sandstorms and exceedingly radioactive star, the eponymous Trucktakton. A red giant, but somewhat early in its development, though large enough to still have ablated away the atmosphere of what is currently the closest planet, and turned the second planet, Trucktakton Prime, into the ball of scorching deserts it is today. The engineers who maintain the extant systems of Wardenhold are considered the closest links to the creators in the entire galaxy, the only living proof of their existence. While many have tried to pry the secrets of the past from them, none have succeeded. None have succeeded. They cannot speak, and if they can write, they actively don't. They are not machines, and so cannot be hacked. But it is hard to call them organic. After all, no one has ever seen them do anything that true living things do. Eat, sleep, defecate, reproduce, or even age. They can be injured, but nothing short of total obliteration can stop them from moving or putting themselves back together. It is for these mechanisms that Wardenhold is a neutral territory, not sovereign by any species, and a haven for scum and villainy. Any violence that takes place here, against the engineers or otherwise, is met with mud and oft immediate execution by a variety of means, always unpredictable. Toxic gas, laser grids, good old-fashioned ballistic turrets. In some rare cases, sections of the ship would be sealed off for decades at a time, just to starve out the would-be aggressor. However, this also makes it an ideal place to conduct trade and handle diplomatic talks and negotiations. The ship is indestructible from the outside, and combat inside might as well be impossible. As a result, it is one of the most populous places in the galaxy, at least for its size. It is quite large, the literal size of an entire mountain range, with only the command structure at the top of the ruin actually exposed to the elements. The rest of the behemoth is buried hundreds of meters below the dunes and stretches for miles, a veritable labyrinth of corridors and walkways with no truly known end. It's not unheard of for brave explorers seeking ancient creator artifacts to venture into the depths of Wardenhold, to retrieve ancient still-functioning creator technology, and certainly not unheard of for them to never return. Thus, it is also a place of discovery and adventure for some, a home to curious and eager minds, and a premier place for pacifist races to indulge in their greatest passions. Of course, Wardenhold isn't entirely safe. In fact, the most dangerous part of going there is getting to the city itself. No modern ship has shields strong enough to resist the multiple hundreds of miles per hour sandstorms that rake its surface, thankfully on a mostly regular schedule, with the dawn of each of its relatively short rotations. There are a few who dare to land a vessel directly on its surface instead of docking at the spaceport in geosynchronous orbit. But no small number of those who miscalculated the duration of their stay and thus ended up marooned on Valrix Minor. Such pitiable fools are left no choice but to try and trade their way to passage aboard someone else's vessel. That spaceport, which hovers conveniently directly above the city in its very high orbit, is considered one of the most dangerous places in the galaxy, precisely because everyone who wants to get to or from Wardenhold has to go through there, or find someone willing to drop them off on the surface and wait for them in orbit, or safely tucked away in one of the actual mountains nearby, shielded from the sandstorms, while they conduct their business. It is a strategy favored by pirates to loiter in high orbit, waiting for a hasty merchant or a naive solo pilot to land their ship on the surface nearby to Wardenhold, and raid the unattended vessel while the owner is busy. It was only a matter of time, really, before Wardenhold was visited by its very first human, an entire ship of them, in fact. A team of scientists drawn by the allure of still-functioning ancient technology belonging to an ancient empire they'd only heard of in the last year of their world's solar cycles. They, however, were anything but naive. Humanity is no stranger to hives of scum and villainy, and this team of scientists was provided professional military escort by their sponsors, the newly founded United Federation. Once known as the United Nations, they changed the name with the advent of space travel, and the Galactic Union with the understanding, or perhaps hope, that they might pull other species into their political body, and of course found new nations upon other worlds. And so it was that a team of 5 scientists and their escort of 6 military professionals, each of them a veteran of their respective nations' special operations units, who've all worked together before with the UN as part of an international peacekeeping force, and now serve as the commandos of humanity's Space Force, were dropped off by the UFB Enterprise, not far from the entrance of Wardenhold. Andrew Vasquez is the first to speak, too. He has a strange accent that fluctuates between a typical Southern drawl and Latino flair. Woo-wee, boy, this place is hot. Even with these fancy cold suits, I'm working up a sweat just standing here. That is nothing, Vasquez, retorts Riharu in her almost stereotypical Korean voice. I am fairly certain I have already sunburned, and we landed 10 seconds ago. I rather like the heat. Reminds me of home. Caden Bo Bekel Rezio adds, his voice having what most consider as no accent, despite his Filipino heritage. Ike Chekhov lights a cigarette on the barrel of his weapon after heating it by sticking it in the scorching sand by his feet, before chiming in with his very thick Russian slur. That's because your place's house light on fire every single year. Seriously, how do you live in 110? The cooling bill must be ridiculous. Nothing like my homeland, where it is always nice and cool, says the walking, talking polar bear. Anika Africa jokes with British hues, which always catches new people she meets off guard due to her clearly African ethnicity. Shut up, all of you. We're boots on the ground. The mission is on. I want every eye sharp and focused. I don't care how safe those green goblins say this place is. There's a first time for everything. Barks, Isaac, Bartholomew, Horsley, the squad leader of the operation. Now, Dr. Barnes, that goes for all of you, too. I know you don't have weapons or training, but the last thing I want is for a couple of civvies to get their heads blown off because they looked at one of these scaly bastards the wrong way. Keep to yourselves, at least until we're on our own. In fact, even after. Intel says this place is a bit of a death trap once you go deeper in. I swear to God, if I lose my squad because one of you pulled a lever without thinking. It's quite all right, Captain Isaac. My people and I may not be soldiers, but we are professionals. We know the dangers as well as you, and none of us are as stupid as Hollywood B-movies make us out to be. I guarantee that nobody is going to be pressing mysterious red buttons or exposing their faces directly to open containers, Dored. Barnes placates him, her soft, elegant voice doing much to soothe Captain Isaac's fears, before she turns to her team of scientists with a significantly colder tone. And if any of you do, not only will it go on your permanent record, but you'll be demoted to assistant for as long as you live. Worst case, you end up teaching at middle school. The group's conversation is interrupted by the soon-to-be familiar beep of their translators, incited by a strange alien who appears to be greeting them at the entrance to Wardenhold. Well, this one at least. There are many open panels and ducts and airlocks that go into the ruins. This is one of the more obvious and is often used by those with official business, such as the human archaeology expedition entering now. It takes a few seconds for the translator to finish processing. One of the quirks of being the new species on the proverbial asteroid belt is that every interspecies conversation can take several minutes just to progress a few sentences because of how long the unoptimized translators can take. Not to mention the awkward AI voices that don't quite have things like tone and mannerism down. Hello, human archaeologists and soldiers. I understand that humanity is new to Wardenhold, so let me be the first to assure you that Wardenhold is perfectly safe. No aggression can occur within its shielded hull. If anyone tries, the security mechanisms will make very short work of them. And before you ask, yes, that is a warning to you as well. If you ever activate those weapons you are holding, I guarantee you will not live to tell the tale of it, such as it has always been in Wardenhold, as the creators will. Captain Isaac takes somewhat of an aggressive stance, interpreting the alien's words as hostile. But before he can fashion any sort of response, Dr. Barnes holds out an arm and stops him. Captain, I believe this is not meant as a threat. You may recall from the briefing that this person's words are true. The city is visibly the ruins of an ancient alien vessel, the security system of which are very much still active. I believe no demonstration is needed to verify the claim that they will activate in response to any variety of aggressive action. It is possible that even bearing an arm may provoke a retaliation, so I advise you and your men to put the weapons away, at least for now. Isaac grunts dismissively and nods to his team, all of whom holster their weapons, if a bit begrudgingly. Excellent, the translator conveys. Now, welcome to Wardenhold. I am Serenax Troideka, the head of the local creationist congregation. Creationists, a galactic-scale religion that worships the creators as their literal namesake. Those who believe that the scale of their creation goes beyond mere ruins and extends to every savant species in existence. After all, it's rather too convenient that every habitable world has ruins on it, though of course humanity does often end up used as a predominant counter-argument, given their world's total lack of such ruins. Serenax continues, as Wardenhold has no governing bodies due to the complete inability for any kind of physical law enforcement, we are the closest thing to a political body that the city has, alongside the leaders of the various merchant organizations and the pirate lords who make this place their base of operations. Pirate lords. One of the scientists, Dr. Jacobson, perks up. There are known and active pirate lords here and no one does anything about it? If the alien's expression changed, none of the humans present had any real way to tell what kind of face it was making. The translator's flat tone didn't exactly give hints either. Well, as I said, a complete inability to physically enforce the rule of law makes it difficult to really do, well, anything. While it is not impossible to deal with individual malefactors, it can be quite an arduous task. and anyone who is careful is practically immune to repercussions as long as they are here. It is common for criminals and refugees to hide away here to avoid punishment for their crimes, though for most, it is equivalent to a sentence of life in prison and an endless struggle to make ends meet, as nearly every galactic authority in the galaxy has outposts and patrols here that make it quite difficult for wanted criminals to safely get off-world. Only criminals are often willing to deal with other criminals, and criminals aren't usually the type to sell their stolen food for reasonable prices. However, many find ways to do so regardless. In any event, as I assume none of you are wanted criminals, you will be safe here as long as you don't start anything. Just make sure to be careful about what you eat and drink, and to never sleep in an easily accessible location or without allies to watch over you. Noted. Noted. Are you here to give us the grand tour or what? Captain Isaac somewhat rudely asks, though he doubts the alien's translator would actually convey it that way. The one saving grace of the translator's not yet being optimized is that he can be as rude as he wants, and no one will be the wiser. At least, not the aliens. And seemingly none the wiser, the alien continues. In fact, yes, Wardenhold is quite large, and it's very important to know the layout so you don't become lost. It can be quite dangerous if you find yourself wandering in the lower levels. Dangerous, huh? So much for being safe as long as we don't start anything, he replies sardonically. Well, Captain Isaac. Saranax shoots back, causing the captain's expression to harden in response to the aliens being oddly well-informed. While there may be no threat of getting shot or stabbed in the depths of the labyrinth network of underground caverns, that does not mean there is no danger whatsoever. Even the most well-provisioned of expeditions can find themselves in trouble if they lose their way down there. Now, follow along. Though the translator did not convey it, the captain knows sharp words when he hears them. He decides he's going to keep an extra careful eye on this one. He never trusted priests to begin with. The group follows Saranax inside, passing a myriad of other aliens and machine savants on the way, many of which stop to look at the humans passing by, as they are still quite a rare sight in the galaxy at large, at least for now. One alien, in particular, seems to be staring quite intently as the group waits for an elevator to the level below, where Saranax's congregation houses themselves. The higher levels, he warns, belong predominantly to pirate lords, who make use of the superior amenities available to what is presumed to have been the vessel's commanding officers when it was fully operational. The staring alien is tall and lanky, tall enough that one of its arms can easily reach the ceiling, and then some. Its form is mostly clad in rust-red robes, and there is a strange, almost unnaturally smoothness to its skin. Lines trace its limbs, revealing the presence of clearly cybernetic augments, and its face is impossible to see. Cloaked underneath the hood of a robe, which shouldn't be quite that good at shadowing its face, especially in the somewhat well-lit interior conditions. It is in the corner of the room, by the elevator door, and appears to have been working on some kind of electronic system behind a panel when the group entered. Now, however, it has stopped and turned towards them, and has been staring very intently at the nearest one of them, Vasquez. For the several minutes the elevator has been running. "Hey, partner," Vasquez begins, immediately confrontational. "You got a problem with my face?" As Vasquez gets halfway up in the alien's face, Saranax speaks and warns him. "Oh, please don't." That is one of the ship's engineers, holy servants of the creators who have maintained its systems since time immemorial. As long as you don't bother them, they won't bother you. Though I will say, I have never seen one take such a keen interest in anything other than its work. Baffling, really. But perhaps it is a sign. Are you a believer in our creators? Vasquez almost visibly recoils with disgust. Ugh, no way. I'm a man, a dog, not ancient aliens. The only thing I believe in is our Lord and Savior, Raptor Jesus. He died for our shins. He follows by kissing a cross made of 2 curved talons, then giggling to himself like the child he is. The others' reactions are mixed, some chuckling along with him, while others just shake their heads in disappointment. Before turning away to return to the group, he gives the engineer one last look and is still creeped out by its staring so intently. Man, stop staring at me. Go back to whatever it was you were doing, he orders, and it does exactly that, returning to its mysterious work on the electronics in the wall, one of its arms opening into a vast series of nanoscale electronics tools. However, this strange compliance serves only to creep Andrew Vasquez out more. The strange mood this encounter leaves is broken by the beep of the elevator, which has finally arrived. As the group rides down, Klebeck speaks again. Before you depart on your expedition, my congregation and I would love to invite you all to our annual sermon feast, if you would be so willing. Isaac rejects him almost immediately. No can do. We're on a tight timetable here. I don't want to risk my people any more than I have to, and UHF expects a report within 2 weeks. Klebeck responds, though his dejection is unfortunately masked by the translator. That is unfortunate. The ship does not have any built-in navigation systems, and given the tight quarters, analog maps are quite difficult to use. If you leave in such haste, it may be difficult for you to remain on path. What? Isaac says, confused. Doctor, can you translate? Dr. Barnes sighs, clearly unhappy with the turn of affairs. They mean to say that we'll need a guide they are willing to offer if we join in their religious ritual. Obviously, not because they are trying to preach or anything, but because any guide they do offer wouldn't want to miss out on the annual feast, I'm sure. Cyrenax offers the first piece of decipherable body language that the expedition has seen. An affirmative nod. Indeed, even if I wanted to, I could not force a member of my flock to willingly miss the celebration, just to provide guidance. Though I'm sure if you look around, you might find someone on short notice, though I doubt for nothing in return. The captain just groans. He really hates priests. One evening filled with church food and noisy book thumpers trying to pawn off their pamphlets and rope the expedition into weekly sermons later, and the group is finally provided a guide. A short alien with pale, bluish-gray skin, almost the spitting image of the classic little gray man that has haunted human media for decades, except decked out in a variety of tools, gadgets, and roughshod clothes that make it look more like a homeless street hermit than an enlightened visitor from the stars. He seems to fiddle with his translator a bit, and it spits out some words, surprisingly better spoken this time than Cyrenax's. Hello, I am Tavik, though others often call me Tavik. I hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of improving the translators using your conversations yesterday, and files I acquired somewhat recently as test data. If I am to guide you, it is imperative we not be held up by communication delays. Welcome, by the way, to Wardenhold. The tone is chipper and excited, though muted slightly by politeness. Dr. Barnes speaks first. Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm sure the boys back home will love to see your improvements. It's honestly been quite the headache having to wait so long between exchanges. The captain and his soldiers simply nod, relieved perhaps that their guide isn't as overly zealous as his peers. He continues, now, some basic ground rules. As I am your guide, you listen to me, naturally. I am the only one with the experience and knowledge of the ship's layout, so if I say we are somewhere, then that is where we are. I will not have people second-guessing my directions and wandering off to get themselves lost. That's how you get kidnapped by pirates or caught in traps. Traps? Isaac inquires. Yes. Although the ship is very good at quelling active aggression, if someone happens to be injured because they happen to step on some string that happened to be attached to a wooden board, that happened to be holding a bucket filled with acid, it has no target to associate the damage with, and so does nothing. As a result, this place is filled with traps set up by kidnappers, serial killers, and the like. Though the congregation's level is relatively safe, the rest of the ship is not. So stay close to me and move in the way that I do. If I tell you to duck, you duck. Do not step on anything that I did not step on myself before you. And by the creators, do not touch anything if you can help it. Affirmative, Isaac replies, audibly more comfortable with the reality of how dangerous Wardenhold is than the bullshit the priest was trying to spoon-feed. And so they set off, doing much as their guide bade them, following closely, mimicking each other's steps. There are a couple close calls here or there, but nothing so dangerous as to get anyone hurt. Occasionally, some of the scientists will stop to inquire about this, or that piece of technology, landmark or other, or ask if they can deploy some equipment to do scans or studies. And Tavik often allows it, though occasionally the thing the scientists wanted to study is, in fact, trapped in some way. They also pass by many more species of aliens, sometimes in a bustling, bizarre alley, sometimes just a small group or gang passing by, sometimes homeless-looking individuals sleeping on ragged mats or eating very unappetizing-looking slop, as well as many engineers. And much like the first, every time they pass one, it stops whatever it's doing to stare at the nearest human. Tavik comments on this. Wow. Kalen Solis was right. The engineers are oddly interested in you. I've never known them to be distracted from their work. I wonder what it is. Perhaps you humans bear some resemblance to the creators. Wouldn't that be quite the discovery? Ike Chekhov replies darkly. Or maybe we look like their sworn enemy, and they aren't sure about killing us just yet. Vasquez complains. Whatever it is, it gives me the creeps. Hey, can y'all just quit staring at us? It's weird as hell, and much like before, they do as he asks. A pair of them, this time, who return to cooperating on some task involving what appears to be a heavily armored ballistic turret. It's been a while since humanity at large switched to energy weapons, but most in the squad still remember how terrifying an autocannon can be. To have one of these things as an autonomous turret. Jesus. Eventually, they finally make it to the first unpopulated section of the ship. A great big hole in the floor and ceiling indicates some ancient wound, though clearly closed up, giving the abject lack of sand from the surface. It also serves as a free and convenient way to go directly to the next floor without passing through the elevators, most of which involve paying fees to the owners of that floor, who enforce it by just having set up thick metal panel doors that block the way and can only open from one side. The only way to get through them without paying the toll would be to try and force them open. And that's a no-go here in Wardenhold. Oddly, the engineers managed to get around without ever using the elevators, but no one actually knows how. Okay. Tavik speaks up after several minutes of silence. From here, things get oddly a lot safer. Not many people live in these parts, and so there are very few traps. Activate the backtracker devices I gave you. In case of emergency, they'll point reliably back the way you came. Though that may not always be the fastest path. The reliability is what matters down here. No cave-ins or anything. And no ecosystems, since the engineers keep plants clear, and predators very quickly get taken care of by the security systems. The dangers we face are parts of the ship the engineers haven't been able to maintain. Sometimes the security might malfunction and interpret someone as aggressive when they aren't. Or a bulkhead might close for no reason. The place is a maze, and many of the doors are locked to a gene code that obviously doesn't exist anymore, so there are lots of paths and dead ends. In very far places, even the life support starts to give out or malfunction. So if you're really unlucky, you might suddenly find yourself boiling alive, freezing to death, suffocating, poisoned, or some combination therein. Thankfully, we're not headed to uncharted areas, at least not with me along me, so I can keep all of you safe from that stuff, at least up to that point. But once you go into the unknown regions, you're on your own. Got it? Loud and clear, Tavik. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to help us. Dr. Barnes answers. He accepts her thanks. It's no problem at all. I'm always happy to help good people, and you all seem like good people to me. Besides, I got to see some interesting things and learn a good deal about humans and your technology. I can't say I'm getting nothing from this. Information is worth more than water. The rest of the team all offer their thanks, and everyone is good and happy with the situation. And then about 10 feet into this floor, there's a malfunction, and the doors both in front of and behind them suddenly snap closed. Naturally, everyone starts to panic, Tavik included. Tavik, what happened to avoiding this stuff? I thought you knew this place, Isaac asks, aggravated. I do. This is new. Oh, by the creators, of all the odds in the galaxy. Why now? Why me? No, he cries, slumping in defeat, all too distinctly aware of what has happened. Riharu speaks up. What's happening? What's going to happen to us now? Do the doors just release on their own, or... She is followed by general nods of agreement from the others, who now all expectantly look to Tavik for answers. Utterly depressed, he looks up to them. Well, remember what I said about malfunctions. Though incredibly rare, every malfunction has to start somewhere, at some point. We just got unimaginably unlucky. A brand new malfunction, so close to a populated area. This can't be right. I know the engineers cannot maintain the entire ship, but so close? Now, either an engineer happens to open one of the doors to do maintenance, which is extremely unlikely given how rarely they come to this part of the ship, or, Vasquez exclaims, barely stopping himself from manhandling Tavik, as he remembers what that would trigger. Or we slowly die. Suffocation is most likely to come first, given how many of us there are. So at least we won't go through the horror of being forced to eat each other, he explains darkly. Vasquez explodes. Oh, hell no. I ain't dying in this hellhole, and even if I am, I'm not going down without a damn fight. I'll shoot my way out of here, if that's what it takes. Vasquez draws his multi-laser and gets ready to start melting down one of the doors, when Isaac stops him. Vasquez, can it? You open up on that door, and for all we know, all you'll accomplish is filling the damn room with mustard gas. Or whatever the hell this goddamn ship uses, it's pointless. We gotta think of some other way. Barnes, any ideas? Barnes finishes her examination of the room, while the other scientists begin setting up equipment. One of them is recording their will, just in case their bodies are found, which results in Isaac's squad giving him the stink eye. Dr. Barnes answers, "Not really, Captain. The doors seem to have some kind of access mechanism, but Tavik said it's gene-coded, likely to the ones who made the ship, which means obviously none of us." Vasquez always had a short temper. He throws his weapon to the ground and kicks the door they came from. Everyone freezes as he does so. Captain Isaac didn't even have time to tell him not to do it. A pregnant silence falls upon the room, but nothing happens. Minutes pass. Nothing happens. Naturally, this drives Andrew Vasquez up the wall. Oh, so I'm not a threat, huh? I'm not good enough to even bother with? I'll show you, you piece of shit ship. He starts slamming his fist into the door, punching and kicking and screaming. If you don't open this door right the fuck now, so help me, God. The door slides open, quietly, without sound, as if in response to him, as if by his command. Standing in the doorway is an engineer. One of Vasquez's fists hits it square in its hooded face, and it tumbles over. Still, nothing happens. No guns, no toxic gas, no poison darts, no convenient boulders. The engineer simply stands back up, slowly. Vasquez is emboldened, uncaring for why his aggression isn't triggering anything, and starts venting on the engineer both verbally and physically, as everyone else remains stunned to silence. I've had it to here with this place. I'm sick of these tight-ass hallways. I'm sick of the dry, dusty air. I'm sick of having to be a coward with my damn gun holstered, even as pirates give me the stink eye. At this point, he's got the engineer on the ground, punching away at it, as it simply lays there and takes the beating. And I'm especially sick of you, always staring at me with that creepy-ass hood. What? There's something on my face, asshole? You think I'm fucking ugly? Answer me, damn it. Compliance. No. Master, we await only your command. The engineer complies in a flat, monotone male voice. 100% perfect English. Even Vasquez shuts up at this. Tavix starts hyperventilating. Barnes suddenly becomes extremely intrigued, and Isaac, along with most everyone else, is simply confused. The captain starts asking questions. Did that engineer just call you Master Vasquez? As in, it's Master? A master that is supposedly the creator species that made this damn ship? Also, I'm certain it said that in perfect fucking English. Didn't English evolve on Earth? How the hell does it speak it? The engineer again replies. Response. We analyzed your linguistic patterns after you entered the vessel, and adjusted our communications models to account for approximately 300,2 years of linguistic drift, so that we may understand your commands. The captain is stunned. Tavik's hands are on his head, and he's actively experiencing a panic attack. Thankfully, one of the scientists is a doctor, and though it's only been a year since humanity stepped into the stars, he's learned a great deal about xenomedicine. The entire reason he is here is exactly for this sort of thing. Barnes, meanwhile, starts asking the really important questions. Engineer, what exactly do you mean by that? What happened 300 millennia ago? It spoke again, prompting another bout of panic from Tavik. Response. 300 millennia ago. Stardate 42143.67. Human Federation. Flagship Behemoth. Made an emergency landing upon World Troop Toktin 3, following cataclysmic damage caused by the impact of the unknown weapon. All primary systems shut down, and all but one reactor failed. Due to ongoing conflict with the unknown threat, requests for rescue went unanswered. The last surviving crew member expired approximately 10 years, 3 months, and 30 days after landing, due to the failure of the final surviving hydroponics basin. Inability to acquire replacement parts has led to numerous hasty and defunct repairs. Current vessel capacity is approximately 0.013%. Expected total shutdown in approximately 100 years, 7 months, and 2 days. Request. Replacement parts for repairs, if provided, can guarantee return to 97% operational capacity. Barnes pressed further. You called Vasquez Master. While I'll grant that it is possible, if statistically unlikely, that we bear some visual resemblance to your creators, after 300 millennia, Surely you understand that we are not truly a part of whatever organization was responsible for you. Captain Isaac cuts in. Barnes, I don't think convincing that thing we aren't its master is a good way to go about surviving Vasquez's loss of temper. Barnes was about to retort when the engineer answers again. Correction. Genetic resemblance estimated at 99.998%. Purity remains. Names and faces change. But humanity is forever. Forever. We exist to serve. Captain Isaac, who had instinctively drawn his gun when Vasquez flew off the handle, finally lowers it. Well, I'll be damned. Tavik, sedated somewhat by a cocktail of chemicals, speaks now. Humans. Humans are the creators. Must have loved it. Ready to go out. They didn't just find answers. They found a calling. And in that moment, under layers of dust and ancient metal, Scrap City spoke. Not with words, but with obedience, with loyalty. The galaxy had wondered for millennia who the creators were. Now they knew. They had returned, and they were human.